Okay, so let's continue with that. The next what we mentioned yesterday in the Ansible, right? The Ansible
Okay.
variables first, right? So the next what we have
Yeah.
Ansible variables, right? Now,
Yes.
what's the use of variable? We can say in every programming languages and all those things, right? So we have a like variable is a mechanisms, right? That
Mm-hmm.
allow to store any value and then we can reuse or recall that value anywhere entire the system depend on that like you create for the particular playbook or for the entire playbook or entire Ansible project, right? So again
Mm-hmm.
variables like we can say is like a mechanisms technique that hold any value, right, or store any value and then we can reuse or recall that value anywhere entire the system.
Okay.
Correct, right now. So
Yes.
in
Correct.
the Ansible what we have that like we have a like different variable that we can say play variables, okay, and then we
Mm-hmm.
have a global variables, right? Now
Yeah.
so how to set those variable and how we can call those, right? So play variable means as name represent we can set and we can call that variable for each and every playbook or for the example we can say for the particular playbook, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's
Yeah.
suppose if you wanted to call any name multiple time, so instead of calling that real name we can call that value with the help of variables, correct, right? Similarly in the with the help of global variable what we can set, we can just set a global variable and then we can use that variable for multiple project or multiple playbook or for the entire Ansible project. So it's
Okay.
depend, right? Like wanted to set a
Yes.
play variable or wanted to set a global depend on that, like the same
Mm-hmm.
for the play that is for only a single playbook and all those things, right? Or for that particular playbook, and global it means we can set to entire Ansible project. Clear? Like how?
Yes.
So let's suppose we have example for the same. So let's suppose that is my control node. Okay, and if you remember, I mean the very first, I'm not sure about the date actually. So here we have like playbook, if you notice now, right? So in this
Yes.
playbook, what we have exactly, we need to create a kind of users and we need to create a kind of groups and all those things, right? What I need that
Mm-hmm.
I need to specify those user like Sarah and those group like hacker with the help of variable, not with the help of real name, right? So in the
Mm-hmm.
play variable first you need to set the variable like where, so after host and before task, like how. So set a variable in these sections like something with the help of where sections and inside that the set your variable, right? Like how. So let's suppose we have a variable that I'm going to mention something like a name, or we can say user one and there the value should be something like Sarah, okay. We have a something
Mm-hmm.
group one and the value should be hacker like that, right? It means what we can say
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, so this is my real value we can say that, and what's the variable name here, user one, right? So
Okay.
that is my
Mm-hmm.
variable name and that is my real value, that is my variable name, that is my real value, right? So what we can say,
Yeah.
if we wanted to print or call Sarah, right? Instead of
Mm-hmm.
that Sarah name, what we can mention, we can still mention user one group and all those things, right? So
Yeah.
so instead of this calling the Sarah, what I can do that I can simple call this variable, right? How we can call this variable? So in this double quotation inside this dual curly braces and define your variable name like something user one like that. Clear?
Yeah.
Similarly, for the group, what we can do that we can simple call with the help of double quotations, double curly braces, and then the variable name, like that's all. Clear? It means what we
Okay.
can say. Yeah, it means what we can say. We have these mechanisms. We can say we have a users and all those things, right? And we can say we have a like
Mm-hmm.
users. So even though we wanted to create a users, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
what's the username? So we can say my username is something Sarah, right? I wanted to create
Mm-hmm.
a group. Which group we can say that? The group one, it means we can say the hacker.
Okay. Okay.
Clear? That's all. Save and exit. Now just run those things with the help of navigator. If you wanted to run that with the help of navigator, you can run that navigator, run and then the new.yaml and then more should be standard out, right? std
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
out. Either you can also use this particular dry run options as well. Hyphen check. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So dry run what we can see is like a mechanism in this, if you know the syntax check and dry run options, right? So in the earlier version, what we have, the syntax check allowed to checking the syntax in the local systems and all those things, and then dry run allowed to verify the entire playbook, like this play, what changes would occur when we were execute this particular playbook without real changes, so that we can say a dry run options. Okay. Yeah. So maybe
Yeah.
in my machine that image is corrupted, let it download and then I'll let you know. Yeah, just give me a second to
Okay.
let it download. Yeah. Give me a minute. Yeah.
I think it stops. You there?
Clear with that? Yeah. So if you notice now, wanted to execute that, what we can do that
Yeah.
we can simple run this command, right? You want to run really run, just skip this hyphen up and check options, right?
Yeah.
So if you notice now, it run with the help of those particular variable, right? So what about if
Yeah.
we are not mention those variable? Let's suppose we have this file, new.yaml file, and if we just remove this var sections, let's suppose we don't have these sections, right?
Yeah.
It means what? It means when you're trying to run those things, we having error message. Why? Because you are not passing those variable, right? So we have a two mechanisms. Either pass this variable inside this playbook, either you can call from any external file, right? If you notice now, what we have error messages,
Yes.
right? Why we are getting this error message? So they are showing this error was occurred from the user one and all those things, something, right? It means
Yes.
we have this file new.yaml and all those things, right? And here what we are mentioning, we are calling the variable, right? But from where? From the internal or from the external? So if you have internally, then you can mention the internal like that, right? If you have external, then you can call from the external file that we can say a global variable, correct, like that, if you mention those things, right? So now let's suppose we are setting this variable for the each and every playbook, but what about if we have a like a lot of playbook and we don't want to save playbook for each and every so we don't want to save variable for each and every playbook. So in that case, do one thing, if we just remove those from this file, right, like that, and when we run that, we are having error messages, right? Why? Because we are not calling those variable from any file. So either set variable inside the same file, right? Either what
Yes.
we can do, yeah, so either what we can do that we can simple create a file in anywhere inside the system, not a problem, right? So what I'm going to do that I'm
Okay.
going to create a file in the same path, something named like var.yaml, var.yaml, okay? And inside that, just mention your variable, like I need a variable user1 is equal to something Sarah, and something group1 is whatever variable you want to set that, you can set that, not a problem.
Okay.
Okay, that's all, save and exit, right? So if you notice now, we have a file that name is vas.yaml, and inside this file we set the variable,
Okay.
we set the variables, clear? Right? Now the next what we have, that let's suppose we have this file new.yaml, and instead of this particular calling those internal variable, what I'm going to do that I'm going to call from external, like how? So simple, you can mention a vars underscore files, okay, and I have a file in my current path that name as vars.yaml,
Okay.
clear with that? Right? So it's in the current path. If you have on the somewhere else, then what you can mention, inside my slash root slash abc slash state something. So this is my vars path.
Okay.
Done? Right? So you can mention
Yes.
in that way. So in my case, that variable file is in my current path. What I'm going to mention in that way, that's all, save and exit. Okay, and that's all. Now try to run this playbook with the help of this navigator or maybe any mechanisms, something like that, standard out and hyphen check. Okay, so this time it's executed, if you notice now. right? And this time
Yeah.
is calling from where? From the external file.
From the external file.
Done?
Will that be like a global?
Global, yes. So
Global.
anyone, yeah, so anyone inside the system can use this file.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if anyone have created a playbook and all those things, if they wanted
Mm-hmm.
to create those, if they wanted to use the same SARA and hacker for the same user and group and all those things, they can call that group. They can call this variable from this path actually, right? So this file is stored inside which path? Inside the root first and with the name of vers.yaml.
Okay.
Clear with that?
Yes. So the first one was the local variable, and then the second one was the global, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, done. So this is like small simple example actually, right? And these things also mentioned in your ebook. If you read those things, I'm not sure what you read or not, so these things are clearly
Mm-hmm.
mentioned. Okay, so this
Okay.
is a small example of variables. Now jumping on the next point, we have a secrets. Okay, so the
Mm-hmm.
next what we have, Ansible secrets, or we can say Ansible vault, right?
Okay.
So what is that? Simple, we can say vault or we can secrets, like a kind of securities features in for your particular playbook or for the Ansible, right? Now what is that? So we can say about the same process and same path. Let's suppose what options we have there for this particular systems and for this particular mechanism and all those things. For
Mm-hmm.
automations, right, we provide everything in the plain text, right? Let's suppose your
Yeah.
password, your APIs, like your authentication, your fingerprint, your keys, everything should be in the plain text in your which file? The inventory file maybe, or in the CFG file, or maybe in your playbook. Correct? For automation,
Mm-hmm.
all those things, right?
Okay.
So any user or any we can system user that have access of that system, let's suppose we are a team, like you and me are on the same team, right? And we are using the same system for perform a company's tasks and all those things, right? And you create kind of any file, we can say any kind of secret, any kind of authentication file and all those things, right? And I have
Yeah.
a permission of your systems, I can easily read this file, modify this file, delete that file, and also if I need, I can execute that file. I mean, we can run that playbook. Correct?
Mhm. Yeah.
But what you need to know, what you needed to know, I don't want to read this file, like no one can else except of me can read this file and all those things, right? And even though no
Mm-hmm.
one can, even though execute that playbook, right? So for
Yeah.
that you need to specify some kind of permissions, right? You need to specify some kind of securities features, right? So we have a like Ansible vault, that is a inbuilt tool, right, that comes with
Mm-hmm.
your Ansible packages, right, that allow to apply password to any kind of plain text file. That could be your YAML file, that could be your CFG file, that could be your inventory file.
Okay.
Correct? So
Mm-hmm.
overall what we can say, the Ansible vault allow to apply password to any file, right? If you
Yeah.
create any file, like let's suppose any secret file or any sensitive file, right? And if you need that no one can else run this file, read this file and all those things, just simply apply those password, right? So we have inbuilt a
Okay.
tool, we have inbuilt command, that is Ansible vault, that allow to apply the password, right? So when
Mm-hmm.
anyone else try to run those file, or even though read those file, modify those file, or run those file, they can't do that. Why? Because they don't have a password, the file
Okay.
password. I'm not talking about the user password, the file password, right?
Yeah.
So if they
Mm-hmm.
have a password, they can run that. If they don't have, they can do that.
Okay.
Clear with that? So what we can
Yes.
say, what the use of these things. So for the automations, most of the admin are using kind of APIs and everything in the plain text. So that could be a securities breaches, or that could be a security sensitivities issues and all those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
for that, we are applying the password. Clear? Like how we can do that? So let's suppose what we have, the process remains same. We have a like options, like we can specify in the playbook mechanism, or we can in the navigator mechanisms too as well, right? So let's suppose we have this same YAML file. Let me create another file as well. Copy new.yaml something user.yaml. Okay, so let me use this my module. Okay, now so what point we have that if you're trying to run this file like with the help of this particular playbook, right, we can use the write and options, it's execute, right? If you and me anyone have access, we can read it easily, right? We can read, we can run, we can modify anything. Okay, now what I need that I need to specify those file password, right? I need to specify those file password. Clear? So in that case, what I'm going to do that, right? What problem we have that? Again, the problem we have that we have the same file, you and me are a team, so anyone can read this file, right? Like that we can read this file with the help of cat command. Even though we can read this file with the help of this editor, like something we have this file and all those things, right? So we can edit this file, and even though if we need, then we can also run this playbook without any other permissions. But again, if you create those files and
yes, 1 second, please. When you run the when you run the playbook, you said Ansible hyphen playbook,
correct
and then other times you also say Ansible
navigator,
hyphen navigator. Is
yeah,
that the
both,
same thing?
yeah, both are same actually. The navigator is an advanced tool for on a playbook.
Okay, it's another
Ansible
tool.
navigate is an advanced tool to run that playbook.
Okay, good. Got
Yeah,
it.
not a problem, right? In the earlier in rel 8 and older version, we have a playbook, Ansible playbook,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
But in this versions 9, we have Ansible navigator.
Okay.
Okay, and other process remains same, correct?
Okay.
Okay, now so what we are trying to mention that, right, for the automations and all those things, mostly we need to specify everything in the plain text format, correct? So any system admin who are access to your system, they can easily read, write and modify, or even though they can run those files, right? But what I need that I need some kind of security features. So in this Ansible or in this Ansible playbook, right, we have a default inbuilt command that is Ansible -vault, okay, that allow to encrypt any kind of plain text file, right? That could be your YAML file, that could be your CFG file, or that could be your inventory file, not a problem.
Okay.
Okay, so let's suppose what I need to do that I need to specify a password to this particular YAML file. Which one? User.yaml file, right? So this file is by default exists. What command I'm going to use that? Ansible vault, and then just use the encrypt command. And which file? The file name. Hit enter and mention the password something. It applied password, right? And password, and it use AES-256 mechanisms to store the or encrypt the password, encrypt the plain text file, we can say that, right? That is the advanced encryption standard 256 bit. Okay, so in the interview they asked that like what algorithm it used to encrypt the data. So it used AES-256. Clear with that? Now, so if you notice now, we apply the password to this particular file. Now, if anyone else try to read this file, let's suppose this file, you can't read that. All the data are in the encrypted. In which mechanism? Right? So you cannot read that. Even though if try to edit this file, we are getting the same thing. And even though if wanted to run these things, we are having error messages like that. You can't do that. Why? Because this file is encrypted and you cannot run that in the same way. Clear? Right? Now, you are an admin of the system and wanted to execute and wanted to read the file properly, wanted to edit those file properly, wanted to run those things. So in that case, you need to know your password.
Okay.
Right? So the same thing, clear? So the same thing if wanted to check or view the file. So what command we have that you can simply use Ansible -vault view and then the file name.
Okay.
Right? Prompt for the password. Just mention your password. If you are a genuine user, you can read your file like that. Correct?
Yeah.
Now wanted to edit those files. What we can do that? Ansible -vault edit, and then the file name. You can edit those files, just mention those passwords, something, you can edit those file like that. Right? And even though if you
Yes.
want to run those playbooks, so we cannot run in that way, right? We having error. Why? Because this is a encrypted file. So here what you can mention, -ask -vault -password, hit enter, prompting for the password, right? Prompting for the password, mention those password, and this time it execute the simple process. Got that point?
Yeah.
Right? So what the use of vault, we can say you can encrypt or secure any kind of plain text file.
Okay.
Right? Now, we're having any questions so far?
No, that's good.
Okay, now the same, if we wanted to create a new file with password, what we did earlier, we just specify password to the existing file, right? What I need, that I need to create a file with password, right? So what you can do, that you can simply use this command like Ansible vault create, and then the file name something test.yaml and all those, correct?
Okay.
So this time we are creating a file with password, hit enter, prompting for the password, mention those new password and confirm password. Here we got a blank file.
Okay.
Now write your playbook, whatever the message you want to print that. Okay, clear? That's all.
Yep.
Save and exit, save and exit, right? So now this file is created, and apply the password to as well. Now I wanted to read that, you can't read that. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's like encrypted. Wanted to view some kind of thing, what command we can execute, Ansible vault view, and then the file name, hit enter, and mention your password, you can view in that way. So process
Okay.
and all those are remain same, you have to mention those command. Wanted to edit, wanted to run, you can use that command.
Okay.
Clear with that?
Yes.
Right?
Agree.
Yeah, now the same, wanted to change your password. So again, to changing the password, you need to know your current password. If you don't know your current password, we cannot change that, correct? Right? So wanted to change your
Yes.
password. So what command we can use? The command remains same. You can use this particular rekey, okay?
Yeah.
And then the file name, hit enter, mention your first current password, and now new password and confirm password.
Okay.
Clear? So now I want to read your file with your old password. We cannot read that. We have an error message, right? So you have to mention in that like correct password like that. Done?
Yeah.
Right? If I wanted to
Okay.
remove the have any doubt?
No.
Yeah. So now if I wanted to remove the password, or we can say decrypt those things, so what we can do that, we can decrypt those in the with the different mechanism. Like how? So what I can do that, I can simply use Ansible -vault decrypt, okay, and then the file name, right? Just mention those password, like I wanted to remove the password, just mention those password, decrypted. That's all. Now you can read this easily without prompting the password and all those things like that.
Okay.
Correct?
Yes.
Right? And now in the automation, what we have that if you if I don't want to mentions or put my password manually, let's suppose you schedule any playbook with the help of cron job. Let's suppose you are not there at that moment, like let's suppose you just run at night 2 o'clock or something like that, okay, midnight and
Yeah.
all, but you are not there to execute those playbook, right? So we are scheduling our job with the help of cron tab or cron job, right? So if
Yeah.
that file are secured, then prompting for the password. If you not mention the password, that's not going to execute that, right? So what I need that I need to run those file, and that playbook should be secured and from the external file. So what I'm going to do that, I'm going to write my password in external file, okay?
Yep.
Right? What I'm going to do that, I'm going to write my password in external file, and then just call this file from this particular playbook. Let's suppose again what we have example. That is my YAML file, something I can run this file like, or view this file with the help of this command like view, and then the file name and all those things, right? And then that asking for the vault password, the -ask -vault -password, right? Either you
Okay.
can mention in prompting it manually, right? Either what I'm going to do that, no need to prompt it manually. What I'm going to do that, I'm going to simple create a file, right? I'm going to create a simple file, something name as like xyz something, okay, and inside that I'm mentioning my password. That could be in the plain text or any format. That's all, save and exit, right? So we having a file that have xyz, and inside that we have a password, right? So now try to, if you want to run those playbook, and in that case I don't want to prompt password manually and all those things, right? So we have argument. You can use this argument like something vault password file, like how. So similarly, wanted to run or wanted to view, so what we can do that, you can use this command like vault view and then the file name. So I don't want to prompt for the password, so what you can do that, you can simple mention there's an argument hyphen ask hyphen that argument, right? So what I can mention that that argument, and view, and then the file name, then the file where you store your password, like that, right? So no, hold on, like that. So we missed that one our options, right? So if you notice now, it's executed properly, like that, right? Even though wanted to run the playbook, so either you can mention prompting the password like Ansible playbook and then the playbook name, and either you can mention manually password prompt mechanisms, right? Manually password mechanism, either you can mention hyphen vault hyphen password and hyphen file and then the file name. Clear? Yeah, hit enter, and this time it's not going to prompt for the password, like that. Why? Because that calling from the xyz file.
Okay.
Clear with that?
Yeah.
Right?
Agree.
So now when we're talking about the navigator, right? So for the navigator and all those things, we have some different command, but not entire different command. I just let you know, give me a second. So this command you can use in this for the playbook, right? And similarly for this navigator, what we can do that, we can use this command, right? So let me show these what the use of secrets, right? So what they are mentioning, Ansible might need sensitive data such as your password, APIs, keys to configure or manage hosts, right? So normally this information is stored in the plain text or in the inventory file or other Ansible configurations file, right? So in that case, however, any user with the access can read and all those things and whatever, right? So to secure this file, so these are issues and all those things, right? Now, so Ansible Vault, which include with Ansible, can be used to encrypt, decrypt any kind of data with the help of inbuilt tool that is Ansible Vault, right? That help you to create, edit, and decrypt, encrypt any kind of file, right? And it use AES 256 with a password as the secret keys. Okay. Now, so these are a command. Wanted to create a file, you can create with that Ansible Vault, create a file. Okay. So wanted to create a multiple file, you can create from the external file too as well. Correct?
Yeah.
So wanted to view, you can use this command to view those files. Wanted to edit, you can edit this file. Right?
Okay.
Right? Wanted to encrypt existing file, what we can do that? We can simply use command like Ansible Vault, encrypt, and then the file 1, file 2. At the same time, we can encrypt multiple file. Okay?
Yeah.
Right? And wanted to store output, you can store the output command to store somewhere else as well. Now, changing the password, you can use that rekey. All the example mentions here as well, you can use that, right? Now, wanted to run a playbook, right? If we have existing vault file, let's suppose we have this file new.yaml, right? So I think that don't have a, okay, so what I'm going to apply, I'm going to apply the password Ansible Vault encrypt and new.yaml, hit enter. then the new password and confirm, right? So this applying the password. Now I want to read those file, you can't read it. Why? Because we having permissions issues and all those things, correct?
Okay.
Correct. Now, so what I need that if we run in that way, like Ansible hyphen navigator run and then new dot YAML, the mode is just something like standard out, we having error messages. Why? Because this is not a decrypted, or we can say not in the plain text and all those things, correct? We having
Yeah.
error, right? Now, so what they are mentioning, if we having this kind of error and all those things, right? So what we can do that we can specify, right? So provide the vault password interactive. In the playbook, what options we had that hyphen ask vault pass. In the navigator, what we can use that, you can use this command run playbook and all those things, right? And then playbook artifact, right? And then the file and then prompting for the password, right? So how we, it's like a long process, you can use any mechanism, not a problem, right? So what we can do that navigator and then the run, in which mode we can say the standard out, correct? And then what option we have that you can this particular artifact, right? So this artifact allow false and vault password to set the following interruptions and all those things, right? So command remains same, you can use this mechanisms vault password and then prompt and then the file name you can mention it's like before after, not a problem. We have a new .yaml file and then hyphen vault ID password, right? So just mention those things. If you notice now, right, they are prompting for the password for that particular file if that is available, right? If you're having a file and all those things, right, let me check this thing, I don't want to run it now. So hyphen check, dry run I mean to say, okay. Okay, so if you mention those password, right, this time it's going to execute like that, correct?
Yep.
So in that manner you can use in that way, right? So these are some kind of syntaxes and all those things. Either you can call from the external file to as well, right?
Yes.
So if you don't want to call it from the like different file mechanism, so what I'm going to use that, I'm going to use the same command like something run and then the file name and then standard out, okay, and then hyphen vault password file, and in my case the password is XYZ. I don't want to run it, just for the same I just mention hyphen check options, that's all. Clear with that, right? So these are the syntaxes you can use in that way, it's not a problem, that's all. So this is about the Ansible secrets, okay. So these are some small terms about these mechanisms, and with the help of these terms what we can do, we can perform or we can secure any kind of file.
Okay.
So any questions so far?
Not yet. I'll still have to go back and review it.
Okay.
So, but it's clear.
Okay. Right. So already the samples are there in the ebook. If you wanted to follow those things, you can follow in that proper way. Okay. Yeah. So that's about those facts. Okay. Can we do other things till tomorrow, if possible?
Oh yeah, sure.
No, right? Because I think I have some headache actually, right? Because I have a lot of batches in the morning, so that's fine. No worry about that, right? So what we can do, we'll wrap up for now, and then we'll discuss tomorrow. The next one we have like Ansible facts, okay? And then we'll also discuss the or we can say automate system admin task with the help of Ansible, right? So these two things we'll discuss tomorrow at the same 6 o'clock IST. I mean 8:30 your time.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we wrap up for now. We'll discuss then tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay then.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye bye. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.